Welcome, human. This is Gonzo Gogo, pondering our collective experience. And today I want to look at 5 things that shouldn't be a business. Society is made up of a variety of systems that govern the world around us. The ebb and flow of global trade and financial markets are just one part of it. Yet these sectors dictate the government policies that shape our lives, all in the name of growing the GDP. Should our society really be chasing constant growth, or focusing on stability instead? The problem is we're an eclectic bunch of people, not a nation of bankers, and government policy needs to start reflecting it, or the whole country's going to go down the bloody toilet.
Let's see how you like it.
How about starting with stability by putting people's needs above an economic ideology? How long is it going to take these numpties to realise you can't have growth without stability? It shouldn't matter what side of the political spectrum you land on. We're a melting pot of odds and sods, so we may as well just get along. An overwhelming majority of you have a grasp of the concept of common decency, and generally would prefer if actually society was a little bit nicer, instead of this existential nightmare that we live in. I'm a big believer in the idea that if you look after people, the economy will follow, because by giving everyone equality of opportunity, you allow for more of us to participate in society in a meaningful way.
Go team, go.
And the more people there are dreaming up an exit strategy from their mundane lives, the brighter the future looks for everyone. So if you're tired of heading towards a grim dystopia where our country is just one big bank leeching off the population, then maybe you need to consider
The 18.
5 things that should stop being a business. Up first at number 1, healthcare. Your health isn't a commodity. Imagine this: if someone collapses on a street, a passing doctor wouldn't whip out his cash app before helping out. Obviously, his humanity would prevail unless he's a dick. So why do we allow this in society? We vote for politicians who push the corporatization of this noble profession. This does nothing to better our society. If you had the option to choose exactly where your tax money was going, why wouldn't you choose a progressive healthcare system? Health insurance is a bloody scam. A healthy workforce is a productive workforce. And to grow the economy, we need healthy and financially stable people to participate in this grand illusion and buy all their shiny trinkets. Surely that's how a functional capitalist society works. The government seems to default to a few strategies to keep their coffers full of gold doubloons, such as relying on taxing the crap out of the working and middle classes, instead of appropriately taxing the uber wealthy and the soulless global conglomerates.
Got it.
They choose to shove the electorate under the bus, under the guise that these massive profits that these global titans make will trickle down to us plebs. The reality is, it's just greed. It's just another way for the haves to siphon off the wealth of the have-nots. But there's more of us than them, and we need to start remembering that.
It's away perhaps. Come on, Macdo. Oh, the packet.
You think here in good old Blighty we would have had this National Health Service running like a well-oiled machine by now? Alas not. The powers that be will have you believe there's no money to fund the NHS. This bollocks is a prime example of what not to be a business. I mean, it's been around since 1948. It was introduced because society was fucked after the war.
In the long run, the only way out is by greater output of all the things that we need, and that means harder work. This is our fight. We are all in it, and by a united effort, we shall win through.
And it was the biggest social welfare program ever introduced in this country. Today's government views this beloved institution through the optics of a business and treats it like some dead asset that needs to be continually managed. They cut costs and starve it of resources while slowly selling off part of it and hoping nobody notices. Well, we saw how well that went during the pandemic.
It is the barrier that can mean the difference between life and death. But tonight, still, many healthcare professionals do not have the full personal protective equipment required to treat such an infectious disease.
The goals of business and healthcare do not align. It's ridiculous, yeah? One wants profit while the other saves lives. Ask your local Yank how much they like going bankrupt for having a baby because they haven't paid for their health insurance. Look at the PPE scandal where Baroness Mona made 60 million in profit while denying her role in securing 200 million quid's worth of government contracts for the company PPE MedPro. They supplied 25 million surgical gowns that failed to meet British standards for the sterilisation of medical devices. Those gowns are rotting somewhere in a warehouse. They may as well have given them bin liners to wear for all the good it did. These backhand deals go on all the time, and you wonder why there's no money for the NHS. Why are we allowing for the most profitable market to dictate the avenues of medical research, rather than what tops the list of things actively trying to thin our herd? A National Health Service shouldn't need to balance a budget. It should be on the forefront of medical research, developing cool cybernetics and eradicating cancer.
For God's sakes, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a fool, man!
Just make 1 or 2 less bombs. Tax the rich. Tax greedy corporations. Tax the banker wankers and invest that money into people. Bet on people, not businesses. I'm not calling for the abolition of capitalism, although I don't think that's a terrible idea. I'm asking how we can evolve capitalism to work for everybody. Because breaking a leg shouldn't put you into debt. Anyway, onwards and upwards. I promise to stop waffling, yeah? Number 2, education. We're going to have all these fancy med-bays dishing out designer Brazilian butt lifts and leg extensions for those short kings, and we're going to need to nurture the boffs of tomorrow today. Our current system is pay to play once you hit higher education. This baffles me, because you need educated people to grow any industry.
Getting the grades is great, but paying the price for a university place is the next challenge.
Not everybody's going to be an Einstein, but I prefer to hedge our bets and open it up so we can develop as many little geniuses as we can within the industries that benefit society the most. Give me 1 engineer over 10 bankers any day.
I'm an engineer. That means I solve problems.
Education should be a vehicle to prepare you for adult life, not corporate servitude. It will have to evolve anyway as AI becomes more sophisticated. It will be harder to measure the skills of students in a traditional way, especially if you could just magic up a thesis within a few minutes. We'll have to move to a different model, and that model should be make all learning free, where the only barrier to entry is the desire to learn and some competence in the field. Students can showcase their abilities by demonstrating what they learn through interactions with their lecturers or other practical ways. When you stop using universities as the business and treat them like the learned institutions they used to be, then we gain the potential to unleash the collective intelligence of every generation onto the workforce. You will find that most people who study hard will want to contribute something positive to society. This should be encouraged. If one career path doesn't work out, just retrain until you find that golden goose. Am I the only one that thinks that saddling a person with a lifetime's worth of debt is just abhorrent? Tell me, why do we vote for these people again? Alright, number 3, public transport. Getting around this little island should be a lot easier than it is, especially when you compare the service with our European counterparts. If you live anywhere other than a major city, you might find that your once thriving industrial town has succumbed to urban decay. I mean, it's in the name, yeah? It should serve the public. But in the hands of the private sector, these companies are beholden to their investors.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
The markets allegedly self-regulate, but when the goal is profit and they have the government bailing them out whenever they balls things up, what you get is one of the most expensive public transport systems in Europe. But if public transport was nationalised and seen as an investment in people, then you would give this healthy and educated workforce the freedom of movement, something we voted against apparently. Therefore, the flexibility to realistically live and work in different cities. Currently, the cost of an annual train ticket for a journey that takes 1 hour from London is about 11 grand. Seems a bit much to me, especially where none of the massive profits gets funneled back into the service. The long-term strategy here is to spread wealth around the country, so smaller communities don't get left behind by the big cities. You can earn money in London and spend it in Bognor Regis if you wish. Cracking on. Number 4, housing. Now, the housing market has created a lot of wealth for the boomers, as well as oligarchs and foreign states, leaving the idea of getting onto the property market less achievable for many under a certain wage bracket.
First-time home buyers can't afford to live in London anymore.
Prices are skyrocketing, and it's now the norm to turn family homes into flats, condemn people into rental purgatory.
Rents in Bristol have risen 52% in the last decade, driven in part by a severe shortage of property.
With the majority of your pay packet going to a landlord, leaving little, if anything, left for your dream home. It seems all very Victorian to me. We used to build affordable homes and have a progressive social housing programme catering to the vulnerable in society. Nowadays, far too many people are falling through the cracks. We are now presented with unprecedented levels of homelessness in our cities. Traffic-logged streets overburdened with the amount of people stuffed into a cul-de-sac. Everyone needs a boost every now and again. And while I'm not suggesting that people aren't allowed to buy and sell their homes, I do think we should be aiming to eradicate homelessness as a society. Everyone needs a leg up every now and again. We can't all be born with a silver spoon in our mouths. I want my taxes going towards projects that benefit ordinary people. You know, like before Brexit. If you look around some of the cities in this country, you'll notice a lot of the amenities, such as leisure centres and parks, were funded by the EU.
The EU funding aspect was 3 million. Through the restoration of this project, we now have the only operating open-air Lido in Wales.
Westminster is not so generous. There's not a lot of that going on anymore. So much for sovereignty, eh? The establishment wants to grow the economy by shrinking the state and enticing big businesses to the big cities with tax breaks and deregulation. All the while, gutting public spending and selling off our services. Tell them to bugger off. There's a reason why political parties on the left and the right seem so similar. It's an illusion of choice. They don't offer any real alternative. They just promote divisive politics designed to pit us against each other to mask the fact that they're lining their pockets. And that leads me nicely to our final thing that shouldn't be a business. For democracy's sake. Number 5, politics. We need to detangle the influence that business has on politics and stop running the country like a hedge fund. I suppose that's what you get when you have a multi-millionaire PM that used to work for Goldman & Sachs.
Friends who are aristocrats, I have friends who are upper class, I have friends who are, working class, but not working class.
Political parties seem to bow to the whims of lobbyists and donors. The influence of money is a cancer on democracy. The average salary for your politician is about 84 to 100 grand a year. I say we give them more and just make them work harder for their cash by actually looking after the interests of their constituencies, instead of swatting off to be a consultant for some megacorp or hosting propaganda hour on GB News. Lobbying should be done with full transparency in an open forum, and donors should have a bloody cap on how much they can offer. Make no mistake, the way these parties are funded influences their policy. I thought we lived in a democracy, but money talks and democracy walks. We should vote for policies rather than these vaguely humanoid caricatures in government. And with an election on the horizon, I'm rooting for a hung parliament. Let's go. As I want more independent candidates throwing their hats into the arena, fighting the corner for ordinary folk. The challenge an independent has is that they'll be up against the mainstream media, controlled by agents of chaos with their own financial agendas. Don't listen to the propaganda, do your own research. Research the policies your local prospective MP offers and vote for substantial change that benefits everyone. It's not a popularity contest. It's plain to see that the trickle-down economics isn't working.
See, this is the lie they tell you. That all this money flowing towards corporate moneyed interests is actually for your benefit. The government intervention for corporations is our free market. But government intervention for workers is socialism. And that's the reason for the socialism scaremongering. It's a false choice.
And we aren't going to grow the economy by squeezing the life out of the electorate. It's time to have a frank conversation about the state of politics and the way we tax corporations and the uber wealthy. We have more billionaires in this country than we've ever had, rising from 15 in 1990 to 177 today. Bonkers. Rather than this being a success story, this is a failure to invest in society by allowing capitalism to run amok. Where do you think that money comes from? Comes from you. It's your time, your money. The 1% can live without another super yacht to go to their islands of debauchery. So in conclusion, kudos if you made it this far. We don't all have to be so greedy. It's only a little bit of socialism. Everything else can be a business. I mean, check me out. I'm trying to be an entrepreneur. This is how we evolve capitalism so it works for everybody. We're not just numbers on a spreadsheet. Look after people and the economy will follow. Agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, my dudes. Peace!